Hello dudes, dudettes, duders, and everyone in between. In this video, we'll be kicking off a conversation about event videography. The topic is broad, so for the course of this video, we'll be discussing in-person vendor and entertainment-focused events. Events have been a steady source of income for us since we started our consulting business in Japan, and the skill set has continued to prove profitable in Los Angeles. Knowing that there's a good bit of gold at the end of this rainbow, I figured why not give a quick overview of the best practices we've learned over the years in the hopes that we can expedite your path to profitability as a filmmaker. In this video, we'll cover event videography as a business choice, the gear we use, camera settings, post workflow, and delivery concerns. By the end of this video, you should have the knowledge and skills necessary to never wipe out completely if you're hired to shoot promotional materials for event organizers. Of course, mastering the skills will take practice, but the information in this video should get you through your first events and increase your chances of getting called back for more. The majority of the footage you'll be seeing throughout this video is pulled from our recent collaborations with the modern day wife. That relationship being the inspiration for the very video you're watching now. Modern Day Wife is a lifestyle brand focused on giving women, married or not, platforms to connect so that they can support each other in their careers, family life, social life, and relationships. Part of how they execute this mission is through in-person events, and they hire us to help with the creation of video content to document and promote these events. The team at Modern Day Wife is ambitious, focused, and perhaps most importantly, a joy to work with. Let's get into it. First, let's consider for a moment why you might want to get into event videography and how it can benefit your business. There are plenty of reasons not to go anywhere near the field. Event videography is a demanding and unforgiving mistress that requires you to be on from the moment the doors open until they close. Like weddings, everything is one and done at events, and if you miss it, you'll have to report that back to the client. Unlike weddings, though, it's not a name your price proposition. Most events operate on the bleeding edge of profitability and won't have stinky fat stacks of cash to throw around. Even if they are consistently in the green, any event organizer worth their salt is aware of the tremendous risk they're taking financially every time they go out. This was true before COVID, and the risk has only increased since then. We're all one breakthrough variant away from an event that took months to prepare getting canceled in the blink of an eye. In my experience, event organizers might seem like they're being stingy when they're just being pragmatic. That's why, if you plan to get into event videography, you need to be acutely aware of how much pragmatism you're willing to endure. As with any job, know what you're worth, what the gig is worth, and when it's time to walk. Due to the financial realities of event videography, don't be surprised if the first jobs you get are unpaid though. We were a year into shooting events before we started getting paid for it. Not that we minded. We were an upstart company, and the event businesses that we were collaborating with were also upstart companies. We grew together and formed relationships through that growth that lasted years, some continuing to this day. And that is the benefit and beauty of event videography. If you use your head, event videography can be tremendously lucrative, not for the day of paycheck, but for the leads. It doesn't take a genius to figure this out. Events have vendors and sponsors. Those folks are doing events because they're trying to grow their businesses. Growing businesses will eventually need media services. I'm not saying that you can hit that vendor floor and fill your next 6 months with bookings your first day out, but you can start building relationships with like-minded business owners that are looking for ways to expand. It's no secret that word of mouth is the most effective marketing you can hope for. Nothing will sway a possible collaborator's opinion into your favor quicker than a third party that they trust speaking well of you. When you hit the floor and start filming at events, the organizers have already signed off on you, and that's an implied recommendation. Don't waste it. Don't take it lightly. It might not convert to new jobs on day one, but if you keep showing up at the vendor-focused events, you keep delivering bangers, and you keep being a pleasure to work with, you're seriously stacking the deck in your favor for an expanded client base. This strategy only works, though, if you shoot quality content. So let's get into our event kit and how we use it. Our A camera at events is a stripped down Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K with a 7.5mm lens on it. We keep this mounted on the DJI Ronin S for constant mobility. You can plan all you want, but events are living, breathing organisms, and eventually you will have to book from one end of the building to another to catch a blink and you miss it moment. Tripods just won't cut it when that happens. Our B camera is a built-out Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K, and we keep this on a tripod. This one has all the sexy accessories we need grafted onto its comically overstuffed body. We record audio to a Rode NT-G3 and power it with V-mount batteries. If we're getting extra fancy, we'll put the Atomos on it, but that's rare. The A camera is for the copious B-roll we know we'll be filming. The B camera is more of a set-it-and-forget-it camera for things like panels, performances, and fashion shows. Often more for archival purposes than promotional. We shoot RAW on both cameras using all of the sensor plate. Shooting 6K RAW for archival might seem excessive, and that's one of the reasons we love the Pocket Cinema series. We can shoot compressed RAW, and we leave both cameras set to 8:1 compression. This allows us to finish to 1920 by 1080 or 1080 by 1920 and still have an image fit for social media. The Blackmagic Pockets are advertised as budget-friendly cinema cameras, but they do work as run-and-gun devices as well. You just have to know what you're doing. We use all manual settings regardless of camera, and shooting RAW allows us flexibility with ISO and color balance in post that we wouldn't have access to if we were shooting on something like an Alpha Series camera. With ISO and color balance less of a concern, we can keep our eyes on shutter angle, aperture, and focus for our manual controls. This might sound like a lot, but I feel like it's worth the practice to get good at manually controlling your camera. You are responsible for the images your equipment creates, after all. Let's talk shots. Always ask the client who the sponsors are before the event. You need to get shots of the sponsors and show them in a good light. You'll definitely want shots of the decor, environment, and people. Well, maybe the people. Let's slow down there. Before COVID, the most common request was that we make the event look as packed as humanly possible. If that's the goal, slap on a 50mm or higher lens and compress the crowd to make it look packed. Now we ask clients how they want guests to be represented in their videos. Since COVID began, we've had clients wanting to highlight the resilience of their community by showing a packed event. We've had others wanting to highlight the lengths their community is willing to go to socially distance and wear PPE. Listen to what the client wants and plan the shoot accordingly. Also, you are the one who defines the levels of safety that make you feel comfortable. If an event is too intimate, you can walk from the job with your head held high. If an event isn't intimate enough, well, that's just because I wasn't invited. Whether you're shooting sponsors, guests, environments, or performance footage, the most important ingredient in your shots is movement. That's why we keep the camera on a gimbal. When you're shooting, you get the X and Y axis for free. You have to work to sell that Z axis. I try to focus on movement that showcases dimensionality, and that's why we stick to a 7.5mm lens. The wider the lens, the more exaggerated depth will be. I love a good push-in, pull out, or rotation. Hey, no snickering now. What I mean is that I like shots that are moving towards or away from an object of focus while objects pass close to the lens. I also like a single point of focus in the frame while the world rotates around that object. If you're new to the Ronin, this move will take practice. The wider the lens, the easier it is to keep the object in the center while you smoothly rotate the camera around it. Doing this move with a 100mm lens is the videography equivalent of catching flies with chopsticks. Shooting 60p and playing back at 24 frames per second will help to smooth out your camera moves. Of course, higher frame rates can affect rolling shutter, and events tend to have every conceivable light source in all shots constantly, so watch for flickering lights, especially at higher frame rates. The other thing to keep in mind when shooting events is to always overshoot. Even after you've filled your quota, keep filming. If you shoot a good video, people are going to come out of the woodwork asking if you have footage of them, and you want to be ready to say yes. The point of event videography isn't to get rich day of, but to build your network. Plan accordingly. The last thing I want to talk about in this video is post-production and delivery. Post can be a bit of an uphill climb because your goal will change from acquiring as much footage as possible to paring down the footage as efficiently as possible. Our most popular event product is a 1-minute popper for social media. Trimming down a 6-hour event with performances, vendors, speeches, product demos, and panels into 60 short seconds is no easy task, and often we find ourselves only able to include one shot of each thing we've been tasked with documenting. 2 shots tops. The good thing about this is that you need only include the bangers. Mediocre shots can take a powder. For client delivery, we always output with timecode and edit build burnt into the footage. There's two reasons for this. The first is that it makes it very easy for the client to build an edit revision list. They simply tell us the timecode of the shot they want changed and what change they'd like. In addition to the edit of the video, we also provide them with a grave file. Again, with timecode burnt in. This is a collection of clips that are usable but weren't used. If there's a shot they want included, again, it's as simple as telling us the timecode and we can slot the correct shot in very efficiently. The second reason to include timecode is that it reduces the chances of the client accidentally uploading an incorrect version of the video. At a glance, they can see whether or not the file they're looking at has been approved for upload or was an earlier build. Look, there is so much more to cover, but that should get you started. If you have questions about any of these topics discussed, please leave them in the comments below. If you feel like I've missed the mark on any of these points, please let me know and we'll keep the conversation going. Until then, party on. Housekeeping. I have been appearing on Office Hours as a panelist. Office Hours is a daily panel conversation hosted by Lindsay, focused on video and event production, and you'll find a link to that below. We do have a Patreon, and Omicron has left me woefully underemployed, so I'll be leaving a link to that as well. The channel is growing, and I'm super grateful for that as it increases the chances that I will get answers to the biggest questions on my mind. What kind of content would you like to see on this channel? What questions do you have about filmmaking, and how can I help you build your film business and maximize the returns on the investments in gear and education that you make? As always, thank you so much for watching.